Well, if you live in the Great Lakes region, you're going to want to pay attention to this forecast. A low pressure system is going to be making its way through the Great Lakes region pretty much through a good brunt of this week, and there is potential for a severe weather event, multi-day severe weather event across portions of southern Indiana and portions of Ohio, as well as potential for heavy snow in northern Michigan. A lot to talk about. In this video, we're going to break down this setup, the low pressure system that's going to be causing this, and then also the impacts that certain places will see as a result of this system.
Here. Oh! That is a tornado.
Hello everybody, it is 8:38 p.m. on Resurrection Sunday, Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to you all and welcome to another update for Great Lakes weather. Hope everybody is doing well today. We are breaking down this low pressure system today that is going to be making its way through the region starting, well actually it's already started technically. We have a severe thunderstorm ongoing across portions of Illinois associated with the system, but it's going to continue to progress through much of this week through the Great Lakes region, bringing the potential for a multi-day severe weather event across portions of southern Indiana and Ohio, and then also that snow potential for portions of northern Michigan and even portions of lower Michigan might be included in that as well. There's still some things to be trimmed out with this setup, so it's something we're watching out for, but we are going to break down all of it right here in this video. So you can see this is actually the current outlook that is ongoing and in fact continuing across portions of Illinois and Indiana. You can see a slight risk for severe thunderstorms, low tornado potential, low damaging wind potential, but the main threat here is looking to be large hail, and that is actually manifesting itself right now. We are going to take a quick look at the radar right here. This is as of 8:39 p.m. and you can see that there is one big time cell making its way through portions of Illinois, and this cell has been observed to have a decent amount of hail, golf ball sized hail, and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and this storm is moving east at 40 miles per hour. So as of this video, this storm, or at least the main portion of the storm, is about 80 miles away from the Indiana border, meaning that this storm will likely be approaching portions of Indiana around I'd say 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. at that point. So you'll start seeing this storm if it continues to hold itself, which some models have depicted that it will. You will likely see this storm impacting portions west of Indianapolis. We actually chased here at one point a tornado setup between Terre Haute and Danville. It was a very interesting setup. Didn't see any tornadoes that day, but it was associated with an MCV, so I know that region a little bit. So you're going to want to be aware that this storm is going to be heading your way. You can also see that there's a bit of convection on the northern side right here that is going to be making its way through portions of northern Indiana, northern Ohio, and portions of southern Michigan. Now, I don't think this setup will bring severe storms, but there is potential that these storms could produce some small hail, especially across portions of northern Indiana, including Fort Wayne. So you're going to want to be watching out for that as it makes its way through. All this is associated with a system that is currently progressing through the Great Lakes region, and there's going to be a low that is attached to that that could bring some good tornado potential targeting portions south of Indianapolis and southern Indiana, and portions south of Columbus in southern Ohio. Now, I will say we are going to break down a model that has been hinting at better tornado potential across this portion of Ohio too. I even might extend that further to the west. This region here could also see it, but again, I'm going to put a question mark here because these models are still not fully coming into agreement. We're not going to put out a full-fledged forecast for the potential for tornadoes in this region and severe weather, but there is some indications that there could be severe weather back up in this region. I just chased in Lakeview. I just helped with some cleanup in Lakeview and Russell's Point earlier this week. Definitely do not want to see that occur again across the Indian Lake region down here. So something we're going to break down carefully. We're going to be watching this as it continues to evolve, but let's get to it, and I will show you guys the continuation of this setup for severe weather. So again, slight risk continues for severe weather across portions of Indiana and even getting into Cincinnati region, Ohio. Now I want to get to the more concerning setup as that low-level jet, or that mid-level and upper-level jet, as a matter of fact, makes its way into portions of the Great Lakes region tomorrow. You can see there's a slight risk for severe thunderstorms across port areas south of Indianapolis, areas south of Columbus, and that marginal risk extends a little bit further to the north. I will probably not be chasing this Monday setup. Southwest Indiana is included in that enhanced risk for severe weather. You can see a 5% tornado potential across portions of that region, and then you can see that damaging wind threat that also exists across portions of Indianapolis, south of Columbus. So again, the threat does extend much farther to the south. Terrain down there is very rough to chase in, but we'll be monitoring it carefully as it moves through on Monday. I don't think the setup for this doesn't look as good as the setup for Tuesday. Now you can see the threat for severe weather does make its way further to the north. I would not be surprised to see even the enhanced risk be extended a little bit further north if models tend to come into better agreement. Now I'm not going to say that that's going to happen just yet, but there are some model indications of some stronger severe weather potential further to the north. So we're going to keep our close eye on that. But the SPC has currently put out an enhanced risk across portions of southern Ohio, southeastern Indiana, and then that slight risk continues into central Ohio and central Indiana as well, matching some of the places that we also chased with that setup that we had back on March 14th. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this evolves, and you can see thunderstorm potential does extend also into portions of Michigan as well. Lots of things to break down with this setup. Not just this, but also the threat for snow over the next few days through Thursday or Wednesday. Okay, you can see that there's potential for greater than 2 inches of snow accumulating. Even in areas north of Kalamazoo. There is a lot going on with this system. It's a pretty active system, so it's something we're going to continue to monitor carefully. But you can see that there is a good chance, 80 to 90% chance, as a matter of fact, that snow could accumulate greater than 2 inches of areas north of Midland, Michigan, north of Grand Rapids. If you go to greater than 8 inches, the potential is still 50 to 60% chance for greater than 8 inches of snow accumulating across areas surrounding Huron National Forest, getting close to Grayling. Those places are going to want to watch out for some decent snow potential based on the latest models that we have. So we're going to start first with the severe weather event, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the snow. Let's go to the HRRR. Okay, so this is the HRRR, latest HRRR model run. Progress it forward. You can see that it's showing that convection that is ongoing. Interesting thing is that the HRRR does not depict that strong cell that is currently progressing through portions of Illinois, but you can see that it does predict some cells on the southern side of this system, again associated with a warm front that's sort of making its way through. And then you can see the Monday setup for severe thunderstorms. You can see that there are some cells that are put out by the HRRR across portions of southern Indiana. You get a sounding out ahead of those. Good Tor sounding there. You can see that there's a little bit of directional shear. Good mid and upper level winds associated with this, and photographs not super solid with this, but again, Cape values of close to 2,000. You have good 3 Cape, definitely a decent setup for some severe storms down across portions of southern Indiana. You can see that some cells also make their way through portions of Ohio. You get a sounding ahead of those. Not as good of a setup though, and it looks like cloud base be a little bit elevated. Good speed shear still, but Cape values below. Not really too much instability to foster severe weather. You got better instability in the mixed layer associated with this, but again, it looks like it's going to be mainly a southern Indiana, southern Ohio setup because you've got that inflow coming in from the south and that jet that is pushing moisture into portions of that region. So again, it's definitely targeting the southern regions of Indiana at this point. And it's going to continue to develop some storms as that low continues to lift off to the north. The one thing that's noted about the HRRR is that it does not push that low as far to the north as some of the other models. I think that might change with the latest model runs because models seem to be coming into agreement, other than the HRRR, of the low shifting a little bit further to the north. And again, we're going to talk about that northern play in just a minute. But currently, some models are hinting that it's mainly just going to be a southern play. You can see that Monday, we have a storm that kind of develops across portions of Indiana Monday at 1 p.m. Doesn't really look to be a strong storm setup with that. But again, it could be elevated and produce some small hail, definitely some lightning associated with that as well. Again, models have not really been handling this super well in terms of placement. And that's kind of the concern at this point is, will it play that southern mode or will we go to the northern mode? So let's talk about that northern mode with the NAM. Recent NAM model does kind of depict a farther northward play, and let's take a look at what that looks like. So again, the NAM is doing a good job depicting that stronger storm cell moving through portions of Indiana. Good tour sounding there. Again, cloud bases are a little bit more elevated, and it's not really looking as good. You don't really have it. It's kind of looking kind of sloppy on the skew T chart, but you do have that good directional shear. Nice hodograph there. A good SRH, very good SRH, but again, the AM's kind of playing it a little bit interesting with that storm that's making its way through. But it progresses through, makes its way across the region. You can see that it also depicts, similar to the HRRR, that storm making its way through on Monday afternoon. Severe weather sounding. Again, this storm will likely be elevated as it progresses its way through. Most storms will likely remain elevated. And then we get to Tuesday. Now, Tuesday, it's depicting much differently than it was depicting with the HRRR. It's depicting the low to be placed much further to the north, which could be possible at this current point. By 7 a.m., you do see strong thunderstorms making its way through portions of Indiana. You get a sounding marginal severe potential, strong directional shear, very elevated though, potentially, with according to the NAM model as it's being depicted. Makes its way up to the north and east. What you see is that if that low goes further to the north, what's going to happen here is we're going to get a nice upper level jet, mid level jet pushing its way through portions of eastern Indiana, eastern Ohio, and enabling convective development on the backside with that instability that is fostered. And you can also see decent snow on the northern tier of this as we get that nice northeasterly wind coming on the backside of that. You're going to have good, strong upper level winds fueling much cooler air down into that region. And then you see those storms starting to develop on the backside. So what's interesting, you get a sounding out ahead of these storms. Storm setup looks good. Looks decent for the potential for some tornadoes. Low cloud base, decent, a little bit of directional shear in there. Strong speed shear with that. Good instability. Cape values of around 1800. Good 3 Cape. SRH and close to 200. Favorable environment for severe weather, including the potential for all severe hazards, possibly including some tornadoes. Steep lapse rates present. Could be a decent setup for severe weather if the low does shift to the north and we see that strong jet make its way into the region. And as it progresses forward, you can see that it continues into central Ohio as well. Could be a setup where I ride one of the probably US 33 even possibly, as it makes its way through that region. So progressing it forward, you can see that those storms continue to just follow along with that strong instability and that good shear that is going to be present, with tornado potential continuing across as these storms continue to make their way through. Now these storms, the speed of them, and then there's a PDS Tor sounding, good directional shear, good speed shear present. Cape values around 1600. Strong SRH, very nice hodograph. If this were to verify, this would be a rather interesting scenario for severe weather, including tornadoes. So I'm going to say put Ohio on a cautious watch for this setup if it does verify. Another thing that kind of puts me on watch for this in Ohio is the fact that the Euro is kind of in agreement. You see that the Euro does depict it to be pushed further to the north as well. So I think that is going to be something we want to watch carefully, okay? Because if that low continues to shift north, we get those storms firing along this boundary here. This cold front that's going to be making its way across with the low. Could see some good storms firing across portions of Ohio and eastern Indiana. So I know you guys just had a severe weather event on March 14th, which is why I'm putting you guys on watch for this. Just be aware. Stay tuned to your local weather forecast offices for the latest information. Again, I'm just showing you what the model data is, so just keep that in mind that this could be an interesting setup should this model verify later on. So just keep that in mind. Here's the instability graphics. Again, the NAM has been the one that's been very aggressive in pushing it to the north, with stronger instability present, with Cape values close to 2,000. You can see that the NAM 3K and the NAM are in good agreement. It pushes it way up, even close to Van Wert. Van Wert is probably a region I would start in if I were to chase this event, which I'm gonna try everything in my power to get out there and chase this. The RAP is just a little bit further to the south, based on the latest model runs. But one thing to note, RFS does depict it further to the south. HRW also depicts it further to the south, but the GFS does place instability further to the north, and also the Euro. So the global models kind of agree with the NAM 3K in this scenario, which kind of puts me in more of a convincing pattern that this could occur. If it was just the NAM 3K, I'd be like, interesting, and probably not look at it with too much of a concern, but with some global models in agreement, it's good to keep watch over this potential setup. So we're watching that severe weather potential. Again, you have a lot of different factors that are coming into place for this. Let's take a look at the bulk shear present with this. Going to have some good wind shear associated with, again, you're going to have upper level, mid level support, even low level support with this as well. So very good, very strong shear present with this setup. SRH values are going to be quite agreeable. SRH of around 200, according to even 300, according to what the NAM is depicting here. And also, other models agree that this SRH is going to be quite decent across Ohio associated with this setup. So if storms go further north and tap into that environment, could see some decent severe weather on this portion of the state. So it's definitely something to watch out for carefully. Again, we're probably not going to look at reflectivity at this current point. You can see that the storms would still be firing along that frontal boundary. Updrafticity, potential for some updrafts does exist present. And again, this is showing the earlier stages. We're not going all the way through, but you get the SBK photograph set up here. You do see kind of a curvature to the photographs according to the NAM 3K, and that instability favoring severe weather potential across that region. So I would not be surprised if areas further to the north, if these models continue to verify the way that they are, got pushed into a higher risk category by the SPC. But again, SPC is makes that decision, and I will trust their judgment. So let's take a look at that snowfall potential now across portions of the Great Lakes region. So you have the Euro model depicting northern Michigan. This is the lower end setup of what is being shown by the Euro. This is by Thursday, and there likely will still be a little bit of snow ongoing, even on the backside, and it's pretty amazing. The Euro is depicting even a possible trace of snow across portions of Ohio on the backside of the system. So a rather interesting pattern evolving with this system. It's going to be quite a strong storm system making its way through. GDPS also depicting that lower end scenario for snow. GFS depicting a higher end setup with the potential for showing snow accumulations greater than 18 inches on that model, which again, probably not going to happen. I don't think it's going to get that far. GFS likes to overstretch these up until the day of the actual event, so I don't really like the GFS in terms of that. Euro usually does a much better job, and you can see that the Euro does depict snow accumulations more intense across portions of northern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula, and not too much across southern Michigan, maybe just a trace. So again, I would stick better with the Euro on this, especially since it seems to be I mean, they're all depicting snow across portions of northern Michigan, so that's kind of the thing to watch out for with that. But again, snow potential in the north and severe weather potential in the south. That is what we're watching out for. You're definitely going to want to have a way to receive weather alerts, especially if you live across portions of southern Indiana, southern Ohio. Okay, those places I do think are under the gun for severe weather potential on Tuesday. Okay, so keep that in mind for Tuesday. Monday, watch extreme southern Ohio, extreme southern Indiana, and then Tuesday I will be watching if the models will change. There is still good potential that these models could shift back further to the south, but again, with this northward push on the latest model runs, could be interesting to see if this does tend to verify. So we'll be watching out carefully for this. Make sure to subscribe and stay updated. If Tuesday comes around to be something interesting, I'm going to try everything in my power to storm chase that. I mean, I'm going to be just getting off spring break, and I may have to stick around during that afternoon. But again, good setup here. Probably a strong, good setup, especially across portions of southern Ohio, southern Indiana. Going to want to watch out for that. And then that snow potential to the north. So a lot of things to break down there. Hopefully I was able to provide them in good detail. But just keep that in mind. Severe weather potential in the south, snow in the north. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all soon.